Hey, welcome back to The Irrational, the podcast where we discuss our fears and anxieties and the various pieces of media that caused those fears and anxieties. I'm once again your host, Charlie Rohr. Very excited to have you back. You might notice that I am no longer inside of the cabin. The weather calmed down. It's nice and warm out tonight. I figured I'd hang out on the porch, enjoy the weather. Also, the chains and the moaning won't stop. It's gotten way worse. It's really consistent now, no matter what I do. And I still can't figure out how to get down there to ask them to stop. What are you going to do, though? Neighbors, it's Chicago for you. But yeah, that's fine. This week's guest is the very talented and hilarious Sonia Denis. Sonia was my first ever friend in comedy. We took improv classes together and then immediately stopped taking improv classes and just started doing stand-up comedy. We produced a show together. We mentioned it in the episode. I won't go into too many details. I'm not going to plug anything of hers because like I normally do, we plug everything at the end of the episode. But you're going to love her. She's great. We discuss her fears of the Rapture caused by the book series Left Behind. You'll hear all that. I did want to just a quick mention, pretty weird, the most explicit episode so far is the one that is all about religion. It turns out when Sonia and I get together for a chat, we start talking like sailors. And apparently we've never noticed because no one's ever recorded our conversations and played it back to us before. So I don't know. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. But without further ado, Sonia Denis. So today we have Sonia Denis joining us, or me, rather. You guys too, I guess. Sonia's here for you. Hi, Sonia. How are you doing?
Hi, Charlie. How are you?
I'm good. So what piece of media did you want to discuss today?
The Left Behind book series.
Okay, so specifically the book series.
A little backstory. So when I was entering 6th grade, my parents, or middle school, my parents decided they wanted to send me to a private school because I was going to public school at the time. They wanted to send me...
Which is gross.
No, public school was great. I loved my public school. And I was finally becoming popular. And I discovered that I was funny.
I went to public schools. I just want everyone to know I'm not actually an
you're
elitist.
An elitist. But no, I was finally becoming funny. I had developed a group of friends. Like, my whole entire life is just being a kid who moved here from another country and wanting kids to like me.
Yeah.
And I figured out that being funny was the way I could do that.
Because you're in America by way of Belgium, by way of Rwanda.
Rwanda, yeah.
So
I was born in Rwanda. My dad was in the Peace Corps. Met my mom in Rwanda. They went to Belgium. We lived in Belgium after I was born. Mm-hmm. And then I moved here when I was like 4 or 5. So my whole life was just like, please like me, someone like me, like, because kids just knew I was different, and when you're a little kid, being different is the worst. So anyway,
as you described it, you were Brown Madeline.
Brown Madeline, yeah. I had an accent. I spoke French.
Accents.
They hated me. I dressed differently. It was, I was like, bonjour, and they were like, the fuck are you saying?
And it had nothing to do with race.
No, everyone was black. There was like one. The thing was, it was racial because it was
xenophobics.
Right. No, like, people hated Africa. We got called African booty scratchers. Like, me and my siblings, we got asked if we spoke African. It's a continent, but like, little kids don't care. It's like any other society where people will find something different to hate about another group of people. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, 5th grade, and finally, like, I discovered that I was funny, or that being funny would help me make friends. And
that's when they said no.
My parents were like,
evangelical Baptist school.
You're not sad enough. So they found this school.
We got to take the humor out of you.
Yeah, like, beat it out of me, literally. Not literally. What am I saying? They didn't beat us there. It wasn't like a Catholic school.
Oh, they didn't? Well, I believed it. When you said that, I was like, okay, yeah,
no,
that's something
spiritually,
that
they beat us. What it was is, so it's a school. It's like 6th grade to like senior year. And obviously I started 6th grade. You have uniforms, all of that. And it's like very strict curriculum where it's like you don't learn about sex education. In fact, I don't remember learning about that much about biology. Like we never had like the books with like the human body. We never read, I think we read Edgar Allan Poe once, but that was like a young hip teacher who snuck that in. Like
who got fired that year.
That year. In order to work there as a teacher, you had to sign a pledge saying that you were a Christian. Like you had to sign a piece of paper. Once I remember our PE teacher got in trouble because someone saw her smoking off campus somewhere, like at, I don't know, someone like it was that strict where like, yeah, but then everyone was, all the kids were like fucking around. Like I remember a girl, like I heard about someone sleeping or having sex in the chapel. A girl gave a blowjob to a dude in the bathroom. Like it was just like extremes where everyone's like really pious or like bananas.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. The first time a girl ever grinded on me was at a church lock-in. And the reason why we could play rap music and grind on each other without getting in trouble was because all of the older kids that were supposed to be keeping an eye on us got super stoned in the basement and just watched Pirates of the Caribbean all night. Yeah, so we just were going crazy running around in this church being animals. So
see, it was much more. We were kept under lock and key. Like you couldn't really do much on I mean, other than fucking, because you don't need to bring anything there.
Just your
to
dick.
Do that. Just your dicks and
just
your mouths, ladies. Gross.
So dicks and mouths. That's how sex works. Nothing else.
Nothing else. Just oral every day. Don't fuck. Yeah, it was terrible. So yeah, we just had like very limited things we could read, so one of the literature was Left Behind, which is a book series. It's very long, multiple chapters.
I know it's from 1995 to 2007. Yeah. 16 best-selling novels.
Evangelicals love fucking Left Behind. I mean, there isn't much really, but it's a riveting story. It's basically like about like the premise is just about like the Rapture, which is the event that happens in Revelations where Christians are like swept up into the sky, leaving all the sinners here. But that book had like demons were possessing people's body. Like I remember it being like a really fun read, but it fucked me up because I was like in 5th or 6th grade reading this shit and like a very impressionable age. Also, you're very sheltered. So like not math, but science isn't really like we didn't have that many science classes. We had like chemistry or things that couldn't be like anti-Jesus.
Can't believe we had any science classes.
No, we did. We had chemistry and we had biology, but like nothing about the body. I don't know how they even did this, but like they cherry pick things like or we had math, because that sanitized. But everything was sanitized. So it was like, but the reading they had to pick very hyper Christian and in a certain right type of Christianity because we were taught that Mormons were evil, Catholics were bad people. Like it was just us. Like if you're not an evangelical.
Well, yeah, I want to go through. So like I said, 16 best-selling novels.
Bestsellers, people love it.
On Wikipedia that has like the reception, just like notes of it, and I'm not going to go through all of it because there's a whole lot of complaints about this book. Yeah. But there's so many complaints from so many different people that there's multiple categories. So you've got from Catholics, from Orthodox, from Protestants, from others. I guess that's just.
I don't think I was in 6th grade. Maybe I was in 8th. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
Well, I mean, it was so this was in 95.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I don't know. But yeah, I guess it's hyper violent. Like I don't know how much of it. Did you read all 16 or
no? I can't remember how many we read.
That's so
honestly.
Many
this
books.
Is such a
that might be more books than I've ever read in my entire life.
Yeah, no, it was just basically like. So all the media they would show us would be like very or expose us to would be very like either like very tame or in like Christian or it would be like I remember watching. So I went there from 6th grade until junior year. So honestly, we could have read that between any of those dates. Sure. So I remember like one of my earliest memories when I first started that school is we watched this documentary where it's like a one-man show where it was like in this giant arena with thousands of Christians and this dude explained in great detail Jesus's crucifixion, like from when he got stripped, when he got beat, like with the whips that has like the nails in it,
or whatever.
yeah, the cattails, to him, his side being pierced and pouring vinegar and like everything.
Yeah,
I remember
this
crying.
documentary. Is this the Left Behind documentary?
No.
There was the same year as the book. There was a documentary on Left Behind '95. That wasn't. It's just a different documentary.
No,
about
it's
Jesus.
different. It's like it would just be like this guy was like a traveling, like he was like a speaker or something like that, and he would go from place to place and sell out stadiums. I don't remember who this is, but someone recorded that. A lot of this stuff too was like very like bootleg, like like early Tyler. I don't know if you know this, but early Tyler Perry stuff would be like stage plays. And like the earliest
super low production
DVDs printed like to look like bootlegs, and it would be like someone's grandmother sat in her camcorder and recorded it. Like it was that type of stuff, except like really good quality, but like that level of like
as good a quality as that style of video can get.
Right, and it just does. I just mean that like you're not gonna see this on IMDb. It was like very much like, oh, the guy would probably be in the back selling his DVDs, and then one of our teachers or administrators popped by and was like, oh, this would be good to show to some fucking kids.
Sure.
Like, and then we would watch that, and you would just be crying and be like, why did they do this to Jesus? And they're like, that's right. And if you have sex or you do this, then you're betraying the sacrifice that he made. Like a lot of it was like shelter you from the world, and also like fear-based stuff, which was exactly what Left Behind was every other story was like a demon's possessing her body. So I went through a period where I thought demons could be anywhere. Like I was like, oh my God, like is such and such possessed? He just cursed. Is he possessed? Like everything. And my dad didn't go to church today. Is he possessed by a demon?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. And then also like the Rapture, every time you walk into a room, you're like, oh fuck. Like all the time.
Yeah.
When we first got exposed to that, it was like the most terrifying concept where it's like when you go to a party or like all your friends going to a party and not inviting you. Like that's literally the Rapture. It's like,
except after if your friends invited you to that party and you weren't invited, or if your friends did invite you to that party and they all went, and then the tribulation happened. I had to Google that, which is God will rain down judgment for 7 years.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if your friends went to a party without you, and then God rained judgment down on
your
you
house
for 7
blew
years.
up. Yeah, like you all suffer, and then hopefully during that 7-year period, you decide to get saved so that you can join, and then Jesus comes back eventually.
So wait, that's the thing. So you can. So I was raised Catholic, and I super quickly fell out of faith. So during that 7 years, you can like repent.
Yeah, that's the point of it. Yeah, the whole.
I thought it was just like if you weren't good when the rapture happened, fuck off. I didn't know that after the rapture happened, you could then save yourself.
Yeah, I'm like 90% sure that you can like during that 7-year period, you can be like, oh God, I'm so sorry, I repent, and then you have to just hopefully like you live through that 7 years of terribleness. Although you could just kill yourself, right, and then go to heaven.
No, suicide is a sin. You go to hell.
See, yeah, you're right. But then Jesus comes back. Hopefully you don't get. Well, yeah, Jesus comes back, and then he's like, "All right, JK, it's over now. You're good."
That's
if you got saved
now.
during a 7-year period.
That's all of it's whatever to me. But that just seems. Let's say, for sake of argument, that's like exactly how it goes. That's 100% real. That just feels like an easy out for people that didn't believe. Does it not? Like you're punished for 7 years, and then you're gonna say, no. I want to go to heaven.
Yeah, but you have to live.
That's reactionary.
But then you have to live that 7 years. You know what I mean? You have to make it. Or not necessarily. You could get killed.
I'm just saying. It's an easier out than...
It's an easier out, but like think about life, though. Isn't life like that? Like the most religious people I know have been through the most shit. My mother's almost entire family was wiped out in the genocide. She hasn't had a hard quote unquote life, but my mother's been through some shit. And then also like the Catholic Church was complicit in a lot of the murders in Rwanda, and that like a priest would like let people come and hide in the church, and then the rebels would be coming looking for people, and they would let them kill people. Like the Catholic Church is a lot of fucked up shit.
Yeah.
But my mom still goes to church every Sunday. She sings in the choir. Like.
But my point is, if everyone suddenly disappeared, or like half the population or a quarter or whatever, I wouldn't think some crazy like scientific anomaly, I would be like, oh shit, religion or Catholicism or whatever is like.
Yeah.
I don't believe in any of it, but if that happened in front of me, I'd be like, oh, okay, I believe. And,
Whoops,
it just feels like an easy out is my
But that's
point.
the whole point, right? Is all those people get to go up to heaven and they're like, I told you.
Yeah.
I was right.
And then that's the real hell.
That's
dealing with a
real
bunch
hell.
of I told you so.
Yikers.
So yeah, I can't, I am not surprised at all that these books stuck with you. Like I said, some of the most notable complaints on this book series was the sensationalized violence from every group. Like, I'm sure several evangelical people. Like, it's not just like it's not written for a religion. It seems like it was written for people who have like a bloodlust. Like somebody, what was the quote? Hold on. The appeal in the book lies in the lip-licking anticipation of all the blood. That's what it says on Wikipedia. Let's see. Somebody says the nuclear frights of, say, Tom Clancy's The Sum of All Fears wouldn't fill a chapter in the Left Behind series.
No.
Time magazine said that about this book series.
No,
and
but
then there's like a book that like that's like going in on all the people being bad and causing like all the violence and damage in the world and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that same exact book, Jesus speaks some words and the bodies of his enemies are ripped open. And then the Christians in the book have to drive carefully to avoid hitting splayed and filleted bodies of men, women, and horses. That's in a book that they made children read. Horses.
You know what?
How does Jesus have enemy horses? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
You know what? I'm definitely certain that I think I read this like early high school because I don't remember being surprised by any of this. Like the Bible is violent as fuck.
Oh yeah.
Like, and then also like that Jesus like one man show where they talked about the crucifixion. Like we were constantly, but
the Bible's violent as fuck in a kind of drag on, like not pleasant way.
Yeah.
The way that this book is talked about online is as if they wrote it in a really enticing, fun way.
No,
like the way you would go fucking see Deadpool last
absolutely.
weekend.
It was a good it's a good read. Like I remember reading it.
Reading about it, I was like, maybe I'll check this book series out. Like it doesn't seem like it really pushes any agenda.
I think there's like some sex stuff, like not actual sex, but like insinuation, and of course those people die. I mean, it was like crazy, but like I was so desensitized to that type of violence like at that point that I don't think like it even made an impression on me, because you reading that, I'm like, oh, I guess a lot of people did die, because that's the rapture, right?
They were splayed and filleted.
Splayed and filleted, like Jesus had the skin ripped off his back. It's like, everyone bleeds and dies, man. You know?
Hell yeah.
Don't do it. You don't want to be there for that. But
so this stuck with you for a while.
No, I don't think religion ever really leaves you. Like even now.
Oh, sure, religion, but we're like specifically the anxieties and stuff from Left Behind. So what were, as far as this piece of media goes, what was your fear and anxiety about it? Was it
no, just being left behind?
You just didn't think you were good enough. You thought one day you were going to wake up, your whole family's gone. Yeah. You're alone, a child on this earth.
Yep.
And you're just.
Well, no, I knew like my dad was
about to endure the tribulation.
I love my dad. But
so you didn't think your dad was gonna go.
It was gonna be me and my dad, probably my brother. I don't know, my sister. No, just my mom was gonna go. No, but what it is that it's like what am I trying to say? It's you as a Christian, or at least the type of Christianity I was raised in, so you say a prayer. Evangelicals believe this, and I probably Southern Baptist or something like that. Anyway, you get saved, and the process of being saved is you say a prayer, giving your life over to Jesus, apologizing for your sins, yada yada yada. Like at a church service or something, at the end, the pastor will be like, "If you would like to get saved, now is the time. Say this prayer," and you give your life over to Jesus, right? And then after that, sometimes you go up, or maybe you sit in the aisle crying, whatever. I remember being a little kid when I had gone to Catholic church up until that point all the time, but like Catholics don't have this, so it was new to me, and I was like, because they tell you if you don't get saved, meaning this whole process, you will go to hell. Yeah. So I did that. People around me were crying, and I was like, fuck, I need to cry. So I fake cried. And then I got saved and I was like, okay, I'm good. But then as a Christian, you're constantly taught, evangelical Christian, that you could be backsliding. Maybe that time you said that prayer wasn't good enough. Maybe that wasn't an official time. Maybe you need to do it again. I think I got saved like 5 or 6 times. Like I kept being like, but did it stick though? So that's the worry, right? Is that you said the prayer, but then you're not really a Christian. And then that's when the rapture will happen, and it'll be before you can go into that next sermon and apologize again.
Yeah.
And get saved again because you've been quote unquote backsliding. And so that was the fear. It was like I'd go somewhere and be like my logical brain was like, no, but because when I hear about it, when something crazy happened, but then you're like, maybe it just happened. And
you're surrounded by
it's
sinners.
surrounded. I come home, my mom's supposed to be home, but she's not. Why isn't she home? Her car's here. She went to a neighbor's house. But in my head, I'm like, could it? Because it's never a thing where you're like, oh, it has happened. It definitely has happened. It's more like, could it? Could it?
Right.
Could it? And then the voice in your head gets louder, and then your mom comes home, and you're like, whew, okay.
Yeah.
Right, she's still here. But then it's also like, my mom's here, but my mom is a Catholic. What if she's not a good enough Christian? Where are the real, you don't know who would get saved.
Sure.
Maybe no one I know would get saved. Maybe they're all sinners. It's like, then it's insane because you always are constantly freaking out that no one's Christian enough. No one's done it good enough. I remember listening. One of the craziest memories I have of being a little kid is listening to an R. Kelly CD. And R. Kelly.
I feel like that's like a lot of kids' crazy memories, listening to R. Kelly CDs.
A lot of girls. He's a rapist.
Oh, God, Jesus. I'm sure he's not getting raptured.
No, but so I remember R. Kelly actually had a CD. And I don't remember which CD this is, but at the end of that CD, he has a song about Jesus, and on it he talks about getting saved.
Yeah.
And rededicating his life to Christ. And I remember praying to that CD and crying, oh my God. After listening to him talk about fucking my heart, my body saying no, and pumps and a bumps, whatever the fuck. That's MC Hammer. Anyway, just freaking out, oh, okay. Because R. Kelly, anybody could make me think, what if?
You're brushing past this pretty quickly. Okay. I think we need to just you prayed to an R. Kelly song.
A Robert Kelly CD. This is obviously pre-pissing on girls and shit. But yeah, he had all his albums have been nasty and dirty.
Yeah.
But at the end, he had a song about
Then
Jesus.
What was the next song he released?
Oh, I think that was the end of the album. So this is an album.
No, I mean that's not his last album.
No. I don't know. I don't even remember what CD this was. I was so young. But I just remember listening to an R. Kelly CD.
I just love the idea of him. That would be so funny if he was just nonstop debauchery, all the nasty bumping and grind, all that shit. Then at the end of every album, he releases a song about getting saved just to repent for all of the nasty shit he just sang about.
That was R. Kelly back in the day, but
that's smart,
maybe
man.
Yeah, no, they play it on. It's like Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey would get on stage, have a bunch maybe not so much now, but Kings of Comedy. Steve Harvey was on stage talking about bitches and shit, and then would be at a church function the next week.
God is good.
God is good. I love him. Hate women, but love the Lord. Love him so much. But yeah, that's it. That's just the fear. It's just constantly.
So when did it dissipate? I know, you said, religion sticks with you even if you're not religious. The guilt, the fears, all that stuff kind of still sticks with you. But you're not specifically walking around worried about rapture anymore, and you're not worried about getting saved and stuff anymore. So was there a moment, or did it just slowly over the years you matured out of it to the point where it's not a huge concern in your life anymore?
Yeah, I think that's what it is the latter of just after I always. Even that time when I told you about where I got saved, pretending that I was sad about or crying about my sins and blah. And I was a child. What sins?
Right.
I stole a marker once. But yeah, I did do that. Sorry, Miss Michelle. What is? I don't remember my point. What?
No, as I do, I have to bleep Miss Michelle's name out.
No, she's good. She's probably dead.
She's saved. We were talking about in that moment, because you were talking about dissipating it throughout your life, it just went away eventually.
Oh yeah, so even when I was saying the prayer and getting saved, I always had doubts. Part of me was I'd never been exposed to religion that intense. Catholic Church was chill. Be a good person, pray. Hey, oh, you sinned, here's this rosary, tell the priest, come out, hang out. Like, it was just, for me anyway, the Catholic churches I went to were really chill.
Yeah.
So then this was like, no, you can't, you gotta get saved. So
this is all at school.
It's all at school. When I would go home.
Did your mom know you were getting saved?
Yeah.
5 times?
I remember telling my parents, I was like, we were in like a road trip once, and I was like, Mom, I'm no longer a Catholic. I disown this because it is wrong. I am an evangelical and I am saved. And my mom was like, what? Like, for them, it was, I think my parents were just like, my mom was like an immigrant here. She was trying to figure out her way in the world, like, because it was tough. Americans are so ignorant if English is not your first language. She's smart as shit. My dad was like raising a family.
Anyone with an accent is smarter than me because they know 2 languages
you speak
at least.
2 languages, exactly, yeah. So, but yeah, they
or
really...
Or they're a jackass American pretending to have an accent.
Right, yeah. But for them, like, my dad, his family is, like, he's first generation, but, like, their families weren't really exposed to like evangelicals. They just thought it was a good Christian school, but it was also like you know how like a lot of Catholic schools will still be like regular schools except like nuns or priests teach you whatever. Like they thought it would be like that. They didn't realize that I was like you were being indoctrinated.
Yeah.
Like literally that's what it was. Everything they said and did was to make sure that for the rest of your life you pledged to Team Jesus in the most like intense ways possible. Like other than touching us.
How did she react when you said?
She was horrified. Yeah, but
wait,
horrified. Sorry,
horrified. I thought you said
horrified.
First, I thought you said cool, and then I heard horrified.
Horrified?
Like, glorified? Like,
glorified in the Lord.
So they were horrified.
No, they weren't happy. No, horrified is extreme. They were shocked. That was the first time they kind of realized that school was like converting us, indoctrinating, and I started telling them about like chapel and all that stuff, and they, I don't know, I don't really remember. They obviously didn't take me out.
We paid for it. It's an expensive school.
I mean, it was expensive. I think they were just like,
hey, stop, like, don't listen to this shit.
Well, my mom was just like, well, Catholic.
Time.
I mean, I think they kind of wanted to be supportive. They were like, I mean, I guess if you know, we all believe in Jesus Christ. I was like, not, well, what I believe is this and what you believe. Like, I just I was like shitting on the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
It was so ignorant. But I think they just were like, maybe it's a phase or like kids being kids. Like, I don't think even to this day they understand the extent of like what these people were doing to us.
That's so crazy that there's a Christian religion that makes Catholic people like go like, you're doing too much.
It's too much.
Because Catholics are the number one. Like, well, they were in my upbringing. They were like, I was always like, oh, you guys aren't like super stressed all the time about this stuff. And like my Protestant friends were like, what are you talking about? So like,
really? Yeah, I don't know. I just had a very different experience. Like I went to CCD too, like Sunday school every week. And I just like remember being like, oh, okay. Like this is, Christ died for our sins and I should read the Bible and try to be a good person. I don't remember. But honestly, once I went into 6th grade, which is pretty young, I started getting all this information about the other religion. So maybe up until 5th grade, I didn't really understand the fire and brimstone. But I don't remember any Catholic priests that I saw being like, you're going to go to hell. Like that wasn't, at least the ones I went to, wasn't a part of my experience.
The church that I was brought up in was actually pretty chill. Yeah. But the CCD stuff was where the stressful lessons came out for me.
Mm-hmm. I think it's like that's probably dependent on who taught you too, right?
Absolutely.
Like, yes, maybe I just had this chills like weekend Christians who were like, we honestly in CCD they would just give us workbooks and we would fill them out.
Yeah.
It would just be like pictures of Jesus. Jesus was blanked.
Yeah.
Crucified, horrified.
Fun fill in the blank game.
Fun fill in the blank game. Yeah, but I just was like.
Were there any moments that stood out that you were like any other like big moments of doubt that you were like, this is too much?
Yeah, plenty. Big one was I remember. So when I was in college, I actually started going to church pretty regularly. Like when I was like a freshman, because I found this like hip young people church.
Wait. You're in college now. Are you still stressed about the rapture?
Yeah, of course.
So this is how many estimate of how many years of your life did this rapture panic.
So the thing at that point, it wasn't as, it kind of waxes and wanes, right? So like you would have periods where you'd be like, well, obviously when I first learned about it, I'm freaking out. But then once I became a Christian and I was like, I've dedicated my life, I'm definitely in good with God, I'm not sinning, I'm not lying, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm good, I'm going up. And when the rapture happens, but then you slip up, you watch an R-rated movie, or as you get older, maybe you make out with a boy and blah, blah, and then you're like, am I a Christian? Am I really? Probably wouldn't get saved up in the rapture. But yeah, when I was in college, it had kind of like, it wasn't as big of a pressing thing for me.
Yeah.
Like I still thought about the rapture happening, obviously, but like I think I was more concerned with going to hell.
Sure.
Because the rapture
like
has
a normal Catholic fear.
Like a normal Catholic fear. So yeah, it was just like, it was still a thing where it was like, what if the rapture happens? But it wasn't as loud as when I first learned about it, where it was like something I thought about for days and weeks and months and years. But I remember being in college, and there was this one girl named, I think that's how you pronounce her name.
We don't need to say this woman's name.
Nope. But I'll
just delete that.
Go beep. No, she doesn't care. She's never going to hear this. Or actually, we're Facebook friends. But this is all a very nice thing to say about her.
We're interconnected nowadays. Can't be putting up names of people.
She was Hindu. And I remember there's this one kid who was like hyper religious. Like he wasn't an evangelical, but he did go to a church where your women didn't wear skirts or only wore skirts. They couldn't wear pants because if you see a butt, I don't know, you're going to go to hell. Something. Like it was like he was very, it was like all the women were quiet. They didn't wear makeup. They didn't get their eyebrows done. They didn't get their nails done. Like this is for real. I went to his wedding like after college and all these women looked like the before of every picture.
God.
Not to be mean. It was just bizarre that like if you were gorgeous or pretty or cute, great. But if you were just needed a little eyebrow plucking, you're fucked because they won't let you because Jesus really cares about petty shit like that. But anyway, he was saying like he was going off on like talking about religion or something. And I was like, even though I went to church and stuff, I was just kind of like, so wait, so you don't think, or you can bleep it out, but you don't think she's going to hell because she's Hindu? He's like, yeah, well, if she doesn't...
heaven. She's not going to
heaven. Or heaven, sorry. She's going to heaven because she's Hindu. And he was like, yeah, well, if she doesn't accept Christ, she's going to hell. Like, that's how that works. And I was like, but she's a good person. And I just remember her... So I was a computer science major.
Was she there for this conversation?
No, like she was there. She was there. She was there. Yes.
She was there. And he's friends with her.
Because that's what it was. They were having a conversation about it. Yeah. The two of them were talking about it. Because... Hindus, I mean, or she was Buddhist. One of those two Eastern religions. So they were having a debate about it, and he was just like, yeah, you're going to go to hell. She's going to go to hell because she doesn't. But I remember thinking how incredibly nice this woman was to me. Like, if you needed help with your code or homework or whatever.
Right.
And then she was just always sweet and in a good mood. Like, no, she's one of those people, like, if you ever met her, you'd say she's sweet. Like everyone, like, what's your first impression of her? Oh, she's the nicest person. He was selfish a lot. Like he would get help from us, but then when we needed help from him, he wouldn't. He was just like a very like one of those Christians that's like, well, I can do shitty things because I'm going to heaven anyway. And I'm just like, and then that just struck me like the difference between these two people. Like one huge difference is one of them is nice, one of them is not always nice, or he is when it's convenient for him. Sure. And according to this church that I subscribe to, this like this philosophy, whatever you want to call religion, he is going to go to a better place than her, all because she was born, I forget where she was from, but somewhere in Asia. And he was born to a family of super hyper religious people, but because of that chance, right, one of these people is going to heaven. Yeah. Despite what they've done on earth as a person, like their like good works, quote unquote. Like the thing, she was a good person, he is not, but he said the right prayer at the right time and believed in the right God. And I was just like, that doesn't sound right. And then also another big thing is, so I was going to that hip church that I mentioned, this young people church, and it was like, ooh, we have a drum player, and like we play guitar during our service. I'm like Catholic, like it was just like, ooh, was like, it was in like a random warehouse or something like that. Like, it was just all very like hipster or whatever. People wore Jordans to church because we're young people.
Yeah. Made it fun.
Yeah, they made it fun, and it was kind of fun. Like, I was hanging out with people who were my age and like all young people. But then
that's when I was little. I used to be so jealous of my friends that went to the fun churches.
Yeah,
I was just like that. Like, you guys like sing songs and you hang out in the youth
it's a
group.
community.
I want to do youth group. That sounds
yeah,
so fun. As an adult, I look back and I'm like, I'm so glad I went to the driest, most boring Catholic church because
you were already
as a child, like
yeah.
less than 10 years old, I was so bored with all this shit that I was listening to the actual messages that they were telling us. And I was like, this isn't right.
Right.
All of my super nice friends that just happen to not be the same religion as me, they're going to hell. Sorry, that's not to say that every Christian church and religion and every like Catholic you can, any type of religion generally, this isn't for every, you can find a church that is like lenient and full of love and supports one another. I see churches all over Chicago when I walk dogs that have like the rainbow flags and stuff because they're like, no, full support. People are people, support your fellow man. I'm not trying to shit on all religion. I am saying that there are plenty out there that use these tricks to teach kids horrible messages.
Yeah, so that's what it was. It was like, I don't know, it was like a cool church, and it wasn't all the things you hate about religion of like having to go to this dry ass service and like having to dress up and wear clothes you would never wear, or like be around like older people who are judging you and what you're doing. Like, it wasn't that. Our pastor was relatively young. At, like, for us, we were all like early 20s, like late teens. He was like mid 30s, and like was funny, and like watching him deliver his sermon was like watching stand up. Like, he took a lot of things from that.
Yeah.
So it was like, and then what happened like by chance, like two of my best friends at that time were like Christians who were in like a Christian sorority. And so they told me about that church, and then I started going, and I really liked like just hanging out. It seemed fun. But up until that point, it was just more like, I still was doubting everything and questioning everything. But up until that point, it was still like, we're just hanging out. We love Christ. And I was like, yeah Christ is cool. You know, fun time. But then one time I remember, I think maybe my sister or someone. Anyway, someone told me about this, or I was there for this. I don't remember this exactly, but they had some sermon where they were talking about sissies. Like one of not the main pastor, who never really talked like that, but like his co-pastor or whatever the term is, he was talking about men being men, and then somehow that went into men being gay, and then he started using the term sissy and talking about how men acting like women and men being with men, and like in a very derogatory fashion. Wow. Before then, it had been very like, this isn't sin, but let's love each other, you know, love the sinner, because then you can talk yourself into believing whatever. And up to that point, I hadn't really had a lot of gay people in my life anyway, so I was just like, yeah, love the sinner. I was never like say anything. Our neighbors when I was growing up were gay, and I never felt any ill will towards them at all. It was just like, oh, okay, they're just, you know, you're not supposed to be gay, but I don't know, they are. Who cares? I don't care. But then when he was saying sissy and like, oh, these men acting like women and, you know, being flamboyant, it's disgusting, God doesn't like that, I was just like, this feels so wrong to me.
So negative.
This is so negative, and it feels, and it's also like, I had the gay friends up then, and I knew in my heart that it was like, these people are not, like, why would you choose this? Why would you be a person who could like women and instead choose to like men and have to sit in this room and have this man call you a sissy and like shit on who you are? Like, why? It just was like clicking for me. Like, these people are lying to me. Yeah. They're lying to, like, they're taking all these things. And that's what it was, honestly. It was just moments like that over and over where it'd be like, I know this person's a good person, or I know this is a fact or a truth about life, the world, whatever. And then they would try to tell me, no, the religion says something that completely contradicts that. Yeah. And there was always a voice in my head that was like, I just don't believe that. I don't think that's true. Like, I don't. And then that's when, once you start unraveling the big things you believe about, like, oh, only people who are saved will die and go to heaven, then things sort of down the line, like, oh, there's a rapture one day where people are going to swept up into heaven. You're like, no,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen either. And then also I started like, there was this one period where I like read a bunch of books about like the Bible, like analyzing like the origins and like how the Bible went from like different languages like Latin and like not Hebrew. Was it Hebrew? But like just the iterations of it from like King James, the New International Version, all these things. And you're like, so much gets lost in translation. And also so many people like the monks that like transcribed all this shit by hand. They made mistakes, or they chose to omit things or change things because they felt like it. Or King James was like, I don't like this, let's put that in there. And it's like,
because even if they did their best, like even if they had zero intent to lie and they did their absolute best, they're still going to get some translations wrong.
Right.
But then you also add in just humans being humans, and like you're translating something, you're like, oh, I don't agree with that. Nobody's watching.
Who's gonna watch? Yeah, I can just change it. Or someone.
And now the world believes what one single man, decided to write down.
Right. Or even just like a lot of the rules in the Bible were based on like the lives the Israelites were leading, where it's like, please don't, spill seed because men need to procreate. We need more people. So please just have sex. Like, have sex with a woman. Don't have sex with a man, because if you have sex with a woman, then she can get pregnant. If you have sex with a man, you're wasting your seed. Like, things like that, where you're like, oh, this is just practical life advice. Or it's just someone made up a story, like God spoke to me one day. Maybe they were on drugs, like. And
there was a lot fewer people back then.
Right, yeah. So
nowadays, it's like, no, we need to spill way more seeds.
Just fucking put that dick away, girl. Like,
on this planet.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was just like that, where you sort of just. And then I also stopped needing religion so much to have like the friends I have, like some of my best friends are still people who are very like really religious, but I don't have anyone in my life that's like, one of my best friends is like really religious, like her husband is a pastor, but they're some of the nicest people I know. I love her, and she's never ever ever made me feel bad for my choices or my life or whatever. We don't talk about my religion or hers unless one of us explicitly brings it up and wants to talk about it, but I never felt judged by her, and I don't have those types of people around me anymore. So then once you start making other friends, and you stop feeling that pressure of like, if I'm not a good enough Christian, people will judge me or people won't want to be around me. And then so everything just unraveled for me over like from like high school or end of high school towards like almost the end of college, where it was just like I got more distance, I got more exposure. Because if you think about it, I went from being in Rwanda to being in Belgium to being here, and then going to that school, being very like sheltered and not really being exposed to other ideas and cultures. And that's another reason why they do that, because if you're exposed to other things, then you'll be like, wait a minute.
Yeah, the more broad your worldview.
Yeah, exactly. You have a very narrow worldview. So
and you're too young to really absorb Rwanda and Belgium.
Right.
And then you come into a new country and you're scared and isolated. You're looking for
Kids
someone
hate me,
to accept
beat
you.
Me up. Right.
And it's like, hey, God will.
God will. God will. Oh, my God. I didn't even realize that. Oh, my God. God will.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. It just stopped being a thing I needed to feel okay and safe. And it's hard to let go of that, too, because I've so many memories of, like, praying for things.
Yeah.
And getting them and feeling like God answered my prayers. Because I was, especially in college.
It's easy to feel that way.
No, but especially in college, like it is easy to feel that way. But I just felt like a lot of my life has been very much like people not, me feeling like, and also it happening, people not liking me because I was different. And I still feel like that, like today. But,
people love you today, though.
But no, I've felt like different or not part of a crowd or a group, and just always wanting that. And God says, hey, I know everything about you. I know every single thing about you, and I still love you. I still care about you. Can you say that about anyone else in your life? Like, my mom adores me, and I know my mom would die for me. My mom doesn't know everything about me.
Yeah.
But would my mom still feel the same way about me if she knew everything? I don't know. But God, I know God does, and I know God loves me for, you know what I mean? Like, that type of unconditional love of having this person in the sky that looks out for you, and if one day something bad is about to happen, he'll stop it. Letting go of that is so hard.
Yeah.
That's the worst part of like not being religious anymore, is not having that safety net of knowing that like I could fuck up my life tomorrow. I could die tomorrow. I could get hit by a car. I could be anything bad. I could get cancer tomorrow, and I couldn't be like, well, I'll just pray and God will take care of it.
Yeah.
It's just me and doctors, or me and whatever, like whatever happens to me in my life, I will have to hope that I get lucky enough and I can take care of myself, as opposed to being like, there's an entity, an all powerful, omniscient being who will just take care of it and take care of me because I put my faith in him. Wow. I think I'm religious again.
And this is why Sonia
I'm going
went
back
to the church. She quit stand-up comedy and now
hallelujah. We go say a prayer to our
become
Kelly
a youth
CD.
pastor. This is I don't know. I so far in like the episodes that I've done, I've absorbed people's anxieties.
Yeah.
This might be the only one that I haven't really, but it's because I've thought about this my entire life.
Yeah.
Like when I mentioned earlier, I was like, oh, I haven't believed since I was 6. Like I definitely believed for a long time after that.
Yeah.
I just started really questioning things when I was really, really young.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I went a lot of my life like very heavily questioning things, but I believed them. I was like, oh, well, there is a God at least.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if all this is right, but there's at least a God,
there's
you know?
at least a God.
And it's like, and I'm not here to say like adamantly, like there's no such thing as a God. Like I'm agnostic. I'm not like some militant atheist or anything like that. But like, I don't think that I won't have like, well, at least I can check off the one for sure thing is there is a God. Like there could be infinite possibilities, but
no, I feel the same way. Like that's the process I went through too, where I was like, okay, so there is a God, but he's not like what they describe. Like he's still all these things.
You try to find your own journey.
Yeah, Jesus still died and all that. And then you're like, okay, well maybe Jesus was just a man, but there is still a God, and like maybe he just doesn't, you know, he doesn't like he doesn't intervene in our lives, and that's why, you know, fucked up things like genocides and holocausts happen, but he's still there. And then you're like, well, like it just keeps like getting smaller and smaller. And I'm agnostic too, and like I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
But like that's why I never had, since I was questioning things as a kid, like right away, I believed that the rapture could and would happen one day. Mm-hmm. And I never had any fear over it, because I was like, I don't fit a lot of the rules that they're laying out, but I don't believe in a lot of this.
Yeah.
And I am a good person. Like, I was always a good kid. Like, I just cared for people and stuff. So I was like, if the rapture comes, I'll be fine. And then I also, in my head, I was like, even people that aren't so good, you know, God wouldn't leave them behind.
Yeah.
Like,
we learned that God was a mean God if you weren't good.
My church wasn't I don't want to earlier, like I was like, I heard the messages like clearly because I was bored and stuff. I don't want to paint my church in a picture where they're hate filled. I didn't go to a hate filled church. The church itself was fine. Occasionally some of the nuns that taught CCD were a little much. Mm-hmm. But what it was you interact with people in your congregation and they were hate filled.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, oh, they learned this from God. This can't be right. So that's when I really started questioning things. My church itself, all of my, like the priests and stuff that I interacted with, most of the people that taught CCD were really good people. Mm-hmm. I don't know what their personal beliefs are. They weren't outwardly hateful and stuff, but I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I just don't want to paint that church in like such a negative light.
It's not like Sister Annie's listening to this shit. Like,
no, I know.
Charles.
But it was a nice church, and it was like a big part of my life when I was a kid. And I, you know, went to a small suburb. So anyone that listens probably knows exactly what church
you're talking about. Your mom's gonna listen. Hi, Molly.
But yeah, I don't know. So you don't, you're not stressed every single day about the rapture any longer?
I'm free from it. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, also there was that period, I don't know if you remember this. I don't remember how long ago this was, a few years ago, where that one guy kept talking about he's predicting that the rapture is going to happen. He's like, it's going to happen now. It's going to happen.
I loved it
now.
so much. It was my favorite thing. It was like so easy to get on social media with that.
Yeah.
Like just jokes about like, oh, like I'm DVRing the rapture, or I have to work at the rapture. I'm DVRing it. Nobody tell me the ending. Like it's just, I fucking loved that rapture stuff.
Yeah, because then after that, you're like, this is silly. This is so silly. And then also just knowing more about the Bible and the background of it, you just realize that, like, a lot of things, obviously, in there are not true. It's a historical document that has some made up stories and some things that are true, but like have been through years just altered and changed, and now it's just it's not a part of my life anymore. But
it's part of a lot of people's lives.
Maybe I don't know.
If not the Bible, then definitely these books and movies. We didn't talk about the movies.
Oh my God.
I want to mention my first introduction to Left Behind was a Simpsons episode parodying it with a movie called Left Below.
What?
So whenever you would say Left Behind, I think one time I actually corrected you. I was like, you mean Left Below? Because in my head, the zeitgeist is skewed for me. So there's this episode where like they go see this movie and Homer freaks out that he's going to get left below, and then he gets super religious and he predicts the rapture.
I think I remember that vaguely.
It's a really good episode. It's really weird. But there are movies, actual movies, called Left Behind. All three starring Kirk Cameron.
He's the best.
Fucking moron.
Loves the
and
Jesus.
They were the first movie was released in October 2000, straight to video. Okay. It's a radical concept, you know, straight to movie or straight to video. That makes sense.
It's not going to theaters.
February 2001, theaters. Boom.
What?
Yeah, it made it to theaters.
What?
Yeah, this independent little movie, you know, just.
Oh my God.
The little scrappy film made it to theaters. Then the sequel was released in April 2002, straight to home video. So I guess it didn't do too well in theaters.
Wait, the sequel to what the fuck happens in the sequel?
Well, it's
the Rapture. Rapture
the
again.
The three movies are condensing the 16 best-selling novels.
Got it.
Yeah. So
it's based on the book.
What it is it's the Rapture happens. These people meet up. They start the Tribulation Force, which is their goal is to recruit people to become better Christians or whatever, so they can get into heaven at the end of the tribulation. And they're fighting against this woman. I forget her name. It doesn't matter. Who is? She's trying to form a new after Rapture government for everyone to live in the post-Rapture world, but she's actually the Antichrist, and they are combating her.
Oh my God, you're always scared of something or someone is the Antichrist.
Secretly the Antichrist. Yeah, because everyone is.
Yes, and so many
like
events.
You said, if your dad doesn't go to church, is he the Antichrist?
Is he the Antichrist? So many events would happen, in especially in Israel, and they'd be like, "This was in the book. This is happening. It's happening soon," and then it wouldn't happen.
Wait, in the book, in the Bible,
or in the Bible? But
then, not in the Left Behind books.
No, but it's in that same chapter. It's a book of the Bible, Revelation.
Yeah,
which is
I know the books were based on the Bible, but
no, they're based on Revelation. But then events would happen in life, and they'd be like,
they're like, huh? See, we told you.
And probably in the movie too.
I also want to mention the third movie.
Yeah.
Released in October 2005, premiered in churches across the nation.
Jesus Christ.
Its premiere was in churches, but don't worry, because 4 days later in October, you could buy the DVD.
Jesus.
And that's where those movies left off.
So prevalent.
They wrapped up.
I thought
the highlight of Kirk Cameron's career. Probably not. It was that sitcom.
No, he had a Christmas movie recently.
Oh, that movie that everyone absolutely hated.
Yes.
Yeah. Most religious people thought that movie was a debacle. So I still would say that, I don't know, these Left Behind movies were the highlight of his career.
Yep.
But before we go, I did want to mention that there is a movie released in 2014 called Left Behind starring Nicolas Cage. It's a reboot of sorts. I would very much like to invite you to watch that movie with me.
I'd love it.
We don't have to do that tonight. Just in the future, sometime we have to watch this movie together, and maybe we'll release it as a bonus episode in the future, where we're just a quick 15-minute chunk where we just chat about
Nicolas Cage, man.
Nicolas Cage just being the best actor in the fucking
world.
He's
in so many shitty movies. It's does he have a coke problem? Does he have 15 yachts? Why? You're Nicolas Cage. Left Behind movie. It has to be shitty.
Dude's got money. He might just be religious, and he might want to spread the word.
Fuck.
That's definitely Kirk Cameron's inspiration.
Yeah, but Kirk Cameron's religious as fuck.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't do an evangelical reboot movie.
This is a notably religious movie.
Yeah, you don't do this movie in 2014.
Yeah,
unless you have a coke habit, or you owe the IRS money.
That money.
Sorry, Nick Cage. Listen, make better choices, you know.
But like the movies and like the books, it seemed like sensationalized fun time action.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it has any religious message behind
But that's
it.
the thing with religion, right? Or all these people like Tyler Perry or like people who are like tiptoeing. Like it's like you take the kernel of all this shit is like, oh, religion and, you know, Jesus. But then they go as far as they can. They push the envelope as hard as they can. And then make it like secular enough to appeal to like a large group of a large audience. What am I saying?
Yeah.
But still religious, and like Christians love that shit. Christians love a Tyler Perry movie, even though Tyler like Medea is out here shooting people in the ass and shit. Like,
yeah.
And she's cooning it up. Like it's terrible. I'm black,
Jesus
so I
Christ.
can say that.
I can't repeat it.
No, but that's what it is. It's like Left Behind had they took so many liberties with the actual story,
right?
Because they could, because it's like it's still Christian. What
right.
else and also like as you're like a hardcore Christian, your options are kind of not super limited, but like there's only so much shit going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, like bloodlusts, because you can't watch R-rated movie, but you can hear about people being splayed and filleted.
Yeah, and fulfill your little horror. Fantasy.
Your
I don't
bloodlust.
Well, Sonia, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Charles.
Sharing with us your deepest, darkest, most intimate fears.
Yes, I will be at St. Joseph's this Sunday.
Hey, that's
rededicating
the name
my
of the
life
church that
to Christ. Me too. Shut up.
Joe's.
St. Joseph.
I think it was St. Joe's. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Whoa,
know.
this is weird.
It's my confirmation name, at least. Charles John Joseph Rohr.
I don't remember mine. Oh no.
You have enough names as it is.
Yeah.
No worries. Well, thank you very much for coming on. Is there anything you would like to plug before you go?
I run a show. Me, you, Rebecca O'Neill.
Oh, do you?
Otonaka is a
Bill Bullock, Justin Covington. First Thursdays of every month at Uncharted Books.
At Uncharted Books, Logan Square, 7 p.m.
You can tell we've both plugged this a million times in the past.
Plug. Also, I would invite you to find that R. Kelly CD that has I think it's several, but, rededicate your life to Christ. I know I am. Thank you, Lord.
All right, but what about like your Twitter?
I have Twitter.
You're on Twitter. You're on Instagram.
SONIDENI. Literally everything I have is Sonny Denny. SONIDENI. Yeah.
Twitter, Instagram.
Don't
look her up on Facebook.
Tumblr.
She hates friend requests.
SonnyDenny.tumblr.com. Find me on Facebook at I Love Jesus 69. Ugh, what am I saying? I've had one too many beers. Yes. Just cut this part out.
Quarter of a beer.
Just cut this out. Why are you like real lifing me?
Check out your Tumblr for your show dates and stuff. I don't know when this will be airing, so there's no point in plugging any upcoming shows.
Yeah, plus it's like, I don't know. Does it matter? Is anyone out there like, when's she going to be out? How to meet this Rapture girl?
I don't know. Maybe you're going to have a bunch of fans. Or maybe people are going to come protest your shows now that you've...
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I have religious friends, too, and I just want to say that I love and respect all of you. We just, differ on some things.
I do, too. I also feel like I was being too militant because I generally try to play devil's advocate. So hearing you talk about religion, I was like, well, this is why religion's bad.
It's the worst.
Also, I've drank a pretty strong beer, so
yeah,
I'm a jackass.
Listen, we love everybody. We're liberals. Please don't vote for Donald Trump. That's what I'd like to plug. Don't vote for Donald Trump. .com. Make Donald Trump again. Trump.
Cool.
Cool. Thanks for having me on, man.
Peace out, Girl Scout.
Peace out, Girl Scout.